Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart. I recently entered my local Warhammer store's Armies on Parade, so I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about my experiences and all the preparation that led up to entering.
Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Counter-Attack Bases. They stock a wide range of counters, gaming aids and movement trays for multiple game systems and offer custom items to suit your club, your event or even your podcast or YouTube channel. Check out the link in the video description.
My journey to this year's Armies on Parade actually started back towards the end of last year, I think, or at least the beginning of this year. And it was around the back door route, really, of the Throne of Skulls event. I was building a known army for that. And for whatever reason, I couldn't go. And it meant that this project turned into an Armies on Parade project. I thought I wanted to use the board that I started building. But then there were other hurdles, I'm afraid, as well. The rules changed for Armies on Parade this year meant that I couldn't use any of the Lord of the Rings parts, and I was using quite a few of the Rowan Houses parts and things on my board. So there are a number of videos and updates back on the channel if you want to go and look at it. A lot of it's irrelevant now because I've changed what I'm doing. But I did end up with my known army at this stage, and funnily enough, that board is now GW legal and it's back being worked on for something else. But I had to pause because we had such a big sum of releases for Warhammer the Old World. I was very lucky to receive stuff from Games Workshop, and I was working on a Cathay army. I made a lot of Cathay content, and I can't link everything here, but loads of painting videos, and essentially I was left with this Cathay army, and I was going to take half of it to doubles on this board. Throne of Skulls doubles this August, and I couldn't go to that because of a family bereavement. So I'm left with this board, and I've very recently made a video about making the display board as well, because I still wanted to share that with people. So I'm left with this display board that I haven't been able to use, that I've decided that's it, I'm gonna have to make it for Armies on Parade and enter it in my local store in Gloucester in the UK. I had a number of plans for that. I mentioned some of that in that video that I recently did on how I made the display board. I talked about adding some Empire bits for Marienburg and making it into a Jade Fleet army for display. I just didn't have time to paint those bits, but there's so much Cathay there anyway, I'd have had to remove some of my Cathay in order to get that on there. So I've got enough army there. The board's practically done, but I really wanted to do some more to it and make it a little bit special. And that takes me back to adding a bit of a backdrop. You'd have seen those in those original Null board display ideas. So I wanted to do something like that. So that was going to be my goal, is to add a backdrop and maybe add a building or two or something on there, just to spruce it up a little bit and then take it to my local store towards the end of October. So I ordered some foam core and cut it to the same size as the board. I needed quite high at the back just because of the balloon on its stand was so tall. I didn't want it peeking over the edge. Attached a magnetic strip so I could pop it on and off for easy transportation. I started working on the design, and I haven't drawn anything since I did my A-level art, not properly really, not something like this. And obviously I paint miniatures all the time, but doing this kind of artwork is very, very, very rare. I very rarely do anything like that. So it was going to be a bit of a challenge. And I was inspired by an early edition Warhammer Fantasy roleplay book, Marienburg Sold Down the River. And there's a lovely piece of artwork of the cityscape and all the water and bridges and things. And I thought it was great. So I thought I'd part copy that, part come up my own, and then use the airbrush to spray around it. Now, sketch wise, this was fine. It was a pencil sketch. It's not going to win any awards, but I thought, you know what, I haven't drawn for a very, very long time, but I haven't completely lost it. Yet it looks a little bit sort of GCSE artish, which may be something that was slightly concerning me, but I kept going. Everyone in the household was impressed, which is not always a good side of quality, but it was nice and I was enjoying myself. And this part copy, part sort of making up as I go along. And I cracked on with the airbrush stages, slowly building up colours, just mostly using contrast paints or thinned paints, normal PSI, not doing anything particularly special. I knew I airbrushed enough and I knew I had enough control, and it would definitely be quicker than trying something like this with watercolour. And I thought maybe a sort of a pen and ink sort of kind of thing might look nice, and then I realised it might need to be a little bit bolder to be a background on the miniatures. So I started filling in some colour, meaning to go back afterwards and sort of darken up some of the cityscape parts so it shows up. And I had lots of fun doing it, and as I was going along I thought, this is making a nice-ish picture. Not a lot of skill there at all, but it's a nice-ish thing to do. And every now and then I went and placed it behind the army to see how it was looking, and it looked a little bit light, so I thought, I need to sort of darken it up a little bit, and that's probably where I started to go wrong with this. And what I found was, as nice, and I mean that in inverted commas, as the picture looks as a piece of fun fantasy art, it just never really connected with the army and the rest of the board. It didn't really match the style. It needs to be in the background and not draw people's eye to it too much. It needs to be something that's there but doesn't detract from the army, because after all it's the army. And even when I started adding the pen in, it started to give it more definition, which was great. It made the picture look better, but again I found it made it look too cartoonesque. Essentially, I'm just not a skillful enough artist. I stopped art at A level. I did history at university and not art, and I haven't really continued to practice that trade apart from painting miniatures, which is something that's very different. So yes, I can produce something that, you know, might be passable as, like I said, a GCSE or maybe even a bare grade, a first year A level art or something like that. But you know, it's barely that, and though it's fine, and it just didn't look great when I added it behind my army. And that was the most important thing. In terms of a little fun cityscape sketch with a bit of colour, yeah, that's great. And if I was doodling away to use for an RPG campaign, that would have been absolutely fine. So I decided to trying to hide the cityscape a little bit to see if I could add lots of mist around it. Maybe that would stop looking it quite so cartoonesque. And it kind of works, but then it just ends up starting to become messy, and I'm trying to darken it up the whole time, and it's just not quite right. So, disaster, maybe. This was the Thursday, I think, and the event was the Saturday. It didn't take me very long. That entire picture and airbrush was about 3 hours work in total, which isn't all that long, all considering. So I'd have thought to myself, now, do I just go with it? Do I go with no backdrop? I can still take the army on display, or do I try and take some of the bits I liked from it and make it more successful? So that's what I did. Back to the drawing board, and to go for something a little bit simpler, aim for just a skyscape and a skyscape. And again, I probably ruined this by doing a little bit too much. I quite liked it when it was quite simple earlier on, just a little bit of blue and white is quite nice, and I had a little bit of pink, but I made mistakes all the way through, including the editing there. You see the focus on the camera going in and out as I sped the footage up. Well, yeah, I'm just going to leave that in there. This is a story of learning from your mistakes, I think. But this is simpler, it works. Every time I returned it to the army, it looked a little bit too bright, and that's why I do keep darkening it up. And it would have been nice to have some of the cityscape in there, but again, they've just arrived from sea in the Marienburg region, so maybe this is just looking at directly to sea rather than catching any of the city in the background. I wanted to add some of the mist there as well. I quite like that effect, makes it look a bit more gloomy, and overall it's not brilliant, but I just wasn't skillful enough to do my original idea. So the idea is often great, but unless you've got the art skills to back it up, sometimes you have to go for a plan B. And this is exactly what that is really. And I don't mind that. I'm not an artist. I'm a miniature painter, which is a little bit different in my mind. And then I'm happy that this will do the job. Now, the magnetic strip was still stuck on the other board, so I had to peel that off. And this time around, I ended up super gluing it on, but I did get it to work, which is the main thing. And that wasn't the only magnets I needed. I've painted this whole army and not magnetized any of it whatsoever. I recently received an A case to review, and there's a video on the channel for that. Again, I won't put a link in because there'll probably be too many links by the end. But I bought these from Warmag because they looked like they would be quick and easy, and so they are. They fit neatly inside your 25mm GW bases, and I've also checked they fit inside the Hobby Heaven ones in the UK as well, with a slightly rounded size. So all the bases I've got that are 25mm, they fit in perfectly. You can get ones that sit on the bottom. These are a little bit more, but it's really cheap. I can't remember the exact price. I've bought these. I've not. You know, these aren't part of an advert, but I really recommend them. They were great. This is that easy to squeeze them in, and they sit level with the bottoms of the bases, and none of that mucking around with super glue, getting the polarity the wrong way around on your magnets, and finding you have issues there. And they fit on the trays perfectly. Obviously, if I'm using movement trays, I need to put magnetic strip in them first and then add these on, and that's what I did. But essentially magnetizing the whole army and all the individual little bits as well, obviously, because they've got to fit inside the A case, took me about 2 hours in total, which really isn't too bad. If I was gluing all of the magnets in, it would have been a nightmare. There we go, and you can see I'm not going to shake them hard, they would fall off, but they make the journey safely, and that's the other thing you need to know. But I'm pretty happy with those. Makes them quite weighty, but I'll be buying Warmag now for my bases because it's just so much simpler. And this is what the army looked like, all magnetised and ready to be packed up. I've added a couple of buildings in there as well. I'm pretty happy with that. The backdrop is doing its job. And by adding a couple of the buildings in there, it just helped sort of create a little bit more in the background, so the sort of the edge of the board and the backdrop doesn't look quite so odd. I wasn't really going to have a backdrop when this was going to be a board for doubles, so I didn't really plan the board in that way. And I think it works all right with the little ship in the background there as well, which is one of the fun elements when I was building it back for doubles all those months ago. So it's time to crack out the A case, and this isn't really an advert for them anymore. We can go and see the review of them, but it did work very well. I can say that the first time I've used it outside of the house. So there's magnets in the bottom of each of these bases. Nearly every base I've just used cut up bits of the Warmag bases, and they're still really, really strong. They just clip in. Some of them I just use regular rare earth magnets, but they fit in really nicely on those trays. And they were strapped in the back of my VW van, and we went over quite a few bumps and stuff on the way into town. Nothing moved at all, or nothing that I could see. Nothing broke. Not the longest journey in the world ever, but I didn't have any issues at all, and everything fitted in really quite nicely. I did discover, luckily at the last moment while putting something in, that I hadn't put a magnetic strip on the bottom of one of my movement trays, which obviously does nothing inside those metal trays, they just slide around. But that didn't take long to stick a little bit on the bottom. And that's just the normal stuff you can buy in sort of A4 sheets from Element Games or Amazon or what have you. All self-adhesive, and that's been the main thing. Barely needed to use any super glue throughout. And I've magnetised a lot of stuff before, but usually just use it inside really useful boxes. The first time I've put it in a case like this, and I was just genuinely surprised about how secure it all was. So that was the stuff for the A case. There's obviously one miniature left, which I wanted to avoid taking in a cardboard box if I can. I did check out an old KR case, and the lantern just didn't fit in at all. Luckily, I've got this other case that has metal trays in. There's also a review on the channel somewhere for this one as well. This one's about 100 quid, much cheaper. Disaster at one point, but no, it turns out if you tilt it on its angle, you can just squeeze it in. And because I was taking the terrain with it as well, I could squeeze the terrain around it, loads of bubble wrap, slam that door shut, and well, I've already told you the way things worked out. Nothing broke on the way there. And then all I was left to do was to remove the back, and I stuck the board and the bag in a black bin liner. Not very, very glamorous, but that's the three things I need to take with me. And there they are, strapped in where my kids normally sit, in the back of my little camper van, but no holidays this time. Just off for a short trip into GW in Gloucester. And this was the setup on the day. They had 2 tables that you could set your things up on. And it was also Warhammer Day, and when they planned this day, they didn't know Warhammer Day was going to be this day, so it was absolutely heaving in there. So all we could do was queue up, take your turn, set up, and then they come and take a picture of it, and then you pack up and leave, really. And the idea was that all the results would go up on their Facebook page for people to vote on, and it was the votes that won it. And I think that's one of the things to talk about with Armies on Parade. The online system works differently to the stores. The stores have a bit of flex to do their own systems, and if you have a very big store and not many sign-ups, people can leave their board set up and you can go around and do the voting there and then and see things well lit up, etc. The lighting was pretty poor in there. It's not really designed to do that. So in this case, and I knew this was going to be the case on the day, I went in and spoke to Rebecca, who's one of the staff members there, and she was brilliant. She was running this, and it was a case of, we've had so many people that want to come in and enter, you're just going to have to bring your board in, we'll take a picture of it, you go away, the next person, and so on. And when I left, the queue was nearly out the door, and that was just for the Armies on Parade and all the different categories. There's also another queue at the till buying all of those Warhammer Day goodies as well. Having worked a little bit in retail in my past, not Warhammer, not Games Workshop, but at other retail. I know what it's like, and I can imagine they spent the whole day on their feet rushing around, no break, and all the rest. So well done to Mark, I think, the manager there, Rebecca, and then I think Chris is another staff member as well, because I know they'll be working hard on those days to photograph and sort everyone out and all those things. So plaudits to them. But the results eventually came through. I think they were left up there for about a week. The results came through when I was away on holiday with my family, and I was lucky enough to get first place, only just on Armies on Terrain. But I was chuffed with that. It's really nice to get a little something for the work that I've put in, and it was a shame not being able to take my original army to Throne of Skulls, and then not being able to take the Cathay army to the second Throne of Skulls because of the bereavement of my family. And I just wanted to do something that was a bit positive with the board, rather than having built it, just shove it straight in the loft. So it was nice to put something, a little bit of a positive spin on it all, and then winning the first place thing was a really cool way of ending it. I won't go through all the categories, but I will go through the Armies on Terrain, which is what mine fitted into. This is Jack, who I didn't meet and I don't know, but this is Jack's second place, and he ran me very close on votes. And this is, it says Zig on there, it says Sig on the entry on the Facebook, but this is his third place as well. Really cool sort of Mars effect board there as well. And this was my favourite board on the terrain section. At least the board itself was really cool. It's so hard to take see the pictures of the miniatures because of the way that the voting's done, so it's very hard to sort of judge it properly. And then I really wanted to just show off the young bloods, and rather than all the other categories, because there's too much, but I just thought these are absolutely excellent. So these would have been 13 to 15 year olds, I think. I voted for this. Absolutely love this board here. This was the second place board. The terrain itself there's loads of pigment and stuff going on. It's just absolutely brilliant. I really love the work that's going into it. And this is the third place on the Youngbloods. I know my eldest is interested. I think he's got a couple of years. I think you need to be 13, but really cool stuff. I'm sure no one from the Gloucester store is going to be watching this anyway, and if you're a participant, and obviously I haven't showed everyone's pictures at all, I only showed two categories, one because I was in them, it's just because it was too much and it would have become a video in itself, and that's not really what this video is about. There's definitely not a snub on anyone who's entered in that store. If I was there all day and it was the kind of setup when you hung around with your board for the day and you voted on each of the stuff, I absolutely would have made the video a bit more about that, because it was a sort of turn up, have your pictures taken and run away again. I only got to meet 2 or 3 of you, so forgive me for not showing pictures of it all, but everyone I spoke to was absolutely lovely, and there's some really nice hobby going on there as well, and to see the quality of the Youngblood stuff, it's good hope for the future as well. These are the little trinkets that you get. You get this one just for entering while stocks last, I believe. I don't know if they'd run out, but it's a really nice heavy metal little sort of medallion thing with a little stand, and it's Stormcast on one side and obviously Ultramarines on the other, but it's, you know, it's Games Workshop. They're going to be doing stuff like that. And this is the medals you get. You obviously get one for first, second and third place in a nice little display tin as well, and I thought that was a really nice touch. And the medal inside is the same metal as the little participation medallion thing, and it's just a really nice little thing, and a very nice way to be sort of notified of your doing well or placing. And I think there are certificates and things as well for the Youngbloods, and some of the manager's choices, the commended ones as well. So quite a lot of people can end up walking away with something which is really nice as well. Gets people enthused in the hobby for sure. And that's it really, and maybe this video as part of the how to make a display board video would have worked better rather than just something on its own, but I wanted to document it. I thought people who not entered it before might find it interesting, and it's been a bit of a weird journey all year with sort of stuff away from the channel. Hasn't always been great, including the reason I couldn't make doubles back in August. So it was nice to be able to do something positive with that board, having put time into building it, and I'm still going to be finishing off the initial board. So I got to do one of the things. There was 2 events I didn't get to go to, but I did get to Armies on Parade. Maybe not with the original board I thought it was going to take, but I got there with something, and by having that board that I made for doubles meant that I could just do that backdrop, and I got to share with you with the bits that didn't go right with that, which I think is fun as well. But I had fun doing it, and I'm glad that I did in the end. I didn't just think, you know what, sod it, I can't be bothered, let's keep my feet up on a Saturday. Glad I did it, glad I did the work to do the backdrop and take it down. It's just a fun thing to do. So I'm not taking it too seriously, but it's nice to take part in, and everyone I spoke to was absolutely lovely, and everyone working at the store is really hard as well. And I think if you're going to enter it, do it for those reasons. If you go thinking I'm going to produce the best painted thing, I'm definitely going to win, you might not. You might well find that someone else wins, and then you feel a little bit disappointed. So go open-minded and think I'm going to do my best and have fun. It will be what it will be, because it's going to vary from store to store. It will vary how many votes you've got depending on who you know there, maybe how many friends you've got, the way it works. It's not scientific. I think it's a little bit different with the online one. It's definitely voted for by painters at Games Workshop HQ. It's a little bit different, but the store-based ones, which you have to now if you want to do the terrain, the board, you can't do that online anymore, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, you're going for fun, and I think that is great for that. I think it makes it very inclusive. It means that people can really enjoy making something and having a go, and going to their local store with a really good chance of walking away with nice memorabilia. And that's the way I see that those little medal things, they're really nice memorabilia. Did I want to win? Yeah, of course I did. It's nice too, but do I see it as like a tick in my painting CV? Not at all. It was just a really nice thing to take part on. So I encourage you to go and do it if you've considered it. Find your local store, find out what their rules are, because it'll be different depending where you are in the world, but just go and have fun with it. And I'm going to find out next year whether my son can enter, because I think he'd like to, but I think he might need to be 13, which gives him a bit more time to practice if that's the case. But anyway, I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please drop a comment below, like the video. It really helps the video get seen by other people. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. If you have come across this video new because you're searching Armies on Parade, do check out all the other content. There's loads on there, loads of hobby content, painting content, loads of videos that show you how I've made a lot of that army and done lots of my board building and terrain building and stuff. So a lot of the stuff you've seen in the video, if you want to know how I did it, there's content for it. So you'll just have to go trolling back through all of the Warhammer the Old World tutorials and painting tutorials and Warhammer the Old World videos, because there's lots and lots there. If Warhammer the Old World isn't your thing, there's other stuff on the channel for that as well, so please go and check it all out. If you'd like to support me, please do check out my Patreon. It's the very, very, very best way of helping me continue to make videos like this. I love painting, but it does take a lot of time to do it, so having the finances to do it really, really helps. And thank you to all my existing patrons for your support. Please do check out all the other links in that video description as well, including one to the Warhammer merch store. It gives me a little bit of a kickback, and it's that time of year when people are asking you what you want for Christmas, and you can say a t-shirt, a mug, calendar, that kind of stuff. Send them the link that's in there. It really helps me out. Also check out the channel sponsor Counterattack Bases. They make loads and loads of gaming aids and custom dice for all your gaming needs. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you soon.